Thank you. Have fun.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Is that mine? When I realized it was first about just giving them tools, I now see that a lot of the entrepreneurs and decision makers out there are facing a cultural challenge, and they do not really understand what the digital transformation is. Even more problematic to my extent is that these decision makers think that the technological progress we are facing in the past 100 years or the past 20 years is just about the digital challenge that they are facing now. And the word transformation implies that this is something you have to go through as an enterprise, and then you're done and you're fine. And what I try to teach to my customers and the people I work with is that we should think beyond digital transformation, because what's coming in the next 5, 10, 20, 50 years is way more than the digital transformation. So this talk is all about this. I've tried to give you some insights, tried to give you some things you maybe can use if you are talking to clients yourself. For those who don't know me yet, although there was that great introduction from Javier, thank you. My name is Alain Verve. I'm one of the AOE people. I'm working for AOE in Switzerland, serving as a managing director. And I am especially interested in that field, technology, business, and society. I think these are the main drivers of our time. This talk is organized in 4 chapters. First chapter is about technological progress. How many of you do know Ray Kurzweil? Whoa. How many could explain the theories and the research work he has done in the past 30 years? No one. That's really frightening. Because it's so imminent what this guy found out. He is now serving as chief artificial intelligence at Google, and he invented a series of things. What I consider to be the main achievement of Ray Kurzweil is that he scientifically proved from historic data that technological progress is exponential. That means the technological progress is not going in a linear way, it's not improving in a linear way, no, it's going in an exponential curve. And it's in the nature of exponential growth that for a very long time, we as human beings do not recognize that there are doublings in growth, but not just adding in percentage. That gives us a wrong view on technological progress. So why is this technological progress with humans something that is exponentially growing and right now sort of exploding? This is a main chart based on the work of Ray Kurzweil. What you can see here is right from 1900 to 2025, the computing power growth we are facing. Actually, machines that have been able to calculate things have been founded in 1900, and we are now at the level where we can more or less generate the computing power of a mouse brain, and quite soon, it's estimated by 2023, we'll be able to simulate a human brain when it comes to calculation power, computing power. That does not mean we have the software to fully emulate a brain, but we have the power to do the same sort of calculations. So, in numbers, that means we will achieve computing power of a human brain by 2023 for $1,000. And some years later, we will already have the same amount of computing power for just 1 cent. If you look back in your personal history, that's exactly what you have been experiencing. The computers you bought 15 years ago have been very expensive and incredibly slow. And today you can basically buy every 2 months a new computer at a lower price with a lot more calculation power. To give you a scale of what is coming, I have the predictions from Ray Kurzweil, where he's saying that by 2049 we will have the computing power of the whole human race simulated for the cost of $1,000. That means computing power will just skyrocket, and that will bring tremendous new possibilities to all our lives and to all our products. The second thing I think it has a high influence on the technological growth is that the world population did somehow a similar movement. Actually, it's close to do an exponential growth as well. It's not exactly an exponential curve, but we saw the same. And it's not more than logic, because we had the technology to provide better lives. If you look in the field of healthcare, for example, there have been tremendous improvements in the past 100 years, and that as a result, more people are able to survive. For example, my wife, because of natural things, would not be able to give birth to 1 child. The child would just be too big for her body. So that's why she's got a Caesar cut to bring 3 kids to the world. 70 years from now, that most probably would mean that she would have been dying with the first kid. So to show you what that means is, we not only saved my wife's life, we brought 3 kids in addition to it. And along with that, because there are so many new brains or more brains being able to invent things, we have a lot more inventions. Things like pottery in the beginning, things like railroads, things like man lands on the moon, and even such historic things like the Type 3 CMS. Another aspect, which is somehow the result of the other two, is that technology is adapted a lot faster. And this is where the internet kicks in additionally. For example, it took the airplane approximately 70 years from the time it has been invented to reach mass adoption, while the PC only took 14 years. And the iPod only took 3 years. If there is a good thing for the humanity out there, it takes lower time until all the people are using that technology. So we really are on an upstream of technology, and it's based on these 3 components. Can you follow me? Stuck? Okay, good. Well, second chapter. If you look back, is that true, that technology changes our life? And I think, yes, the everyday life is so freakingly changed in the past 20, 50, 100 years. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better day to talk about our perception of technology and the future than today, in the next 30 years, I believe. Because let's show or let's see what in the film Back to the Future was appearing. Is a lot of technology, and just because we don't came here by hoverboard or doing time traveling, we are thinking that what is in the movie is not realistic, and it didn't come true. If you compare it fact by fact, actually, a lot of the stuff and most of the stuff has become true. For example, augmented reality, which was shown dominantly in the film. No one would like to have augmented reality like we have it in the film. It's way better today. You can download an app and you can do that thing with your smartphone just right now or after the talk. Mobile payment. If you follow me on Twitter, you might see that I have spent full 3 weeks using Apple Pay exclusively throughout Europe. And I'm thinking that these payments with fingerprinting is so much more easy. I didn't have to deal with money, with credit cards, with entering PINs and all these kind of things. And that's what we saw in the movie as well. And it's even better than in the movie because my fingerprint payment device is more than just a payment device. Then, rather profane things like picture-in-picture television. We all have that today, and it's a lot better than we see it here. Or, for example, video calling on television is something that me who is not really watching telly, has recently experienced that televisions have become cool computers. I ordered a big Samsung, and I realized I can do a lot more stuff than watching this boring series of my wife. And actually, what is really cool is that I am calling my brother-in-law via Skype, and I'm actually exactly doing this kind of things. I do the video calling in this big screen, and it's just awesome. It's just great. It's just a small piece of technology that is improving my life tremendously. So, to sum that up, I think we are overestimating the technological progress in the short run, but we dramatically underestimate it in the long run. That's when you're reading in the newspaper that there is a breakthrough in technology happening, that some researchers have found out something really great, and just 2 years later, you're very disappointed because there's no product using that technology. And you end up saying, it's just all going a lot longer. If you wait 5 years in time, you will have a product, and it will be better than what you have been thinking in the beginning, what that technology will bring to you. And if you look back a little bit, I want to introduce you to this woman here. This woman is my grandmother, who spent her childhood in a time where there was no electricity, there was no healthcare system, there were almost no railroad tracks in Switzerland, there has not been any cars, any entrances, any of the things we are living today with, except bread, was not there. And when she finally closed her eyes for eternity, she was living in a world that has so much changed that is not comparable to what the world was in 1910, for example, when she came to Earth. So, what I want to say with this is that 100-year span of technology today means changing the world. And one of the and as we move along with the technological, with the exponential growth of the technology, these 100 years will become 20 years. And technology changes all. That's an interesting thing. It was just last week when I was talking to my son, and maybe I'm traveling a bit too much today, these days, and he asked me, well, Dad, can't we buy a plane? Because then you could be at home earlier and we would see each other more often. And I said, yeah, why not? Just because, what's a stupid idea? I have no money to buy a plane. And he took that for full and said to me, okay, grab the phone. Let's see. What are the options? What kind of planes can we have? Can we order one? I want a red one. And I played the game with him because I thought it was funny. And I later realized that buying something for him is directly connected to taking the phone and make up your mind through digital channels. Nothing special for someone who is working in the digital industry, of course. But as he is just a young kid, not realizing what the kind of money you need to buy a plane, he is already aware that taking digital channels for your decision makers when it comes to buying things is the primary channel. And he's a little bit biased maybe because of me and my wife being so digital, okay? But this is what the day zero is in a 100-year time span. That will dramatically change the way we are living because there already are a lot of cultural changes in the minds of our kids. And if you look back to 20 years from now, I would like to encourage you to do a thought experiment. There have been so many things being developed, and the thought experiment would be, with everything you have in your hand, ask yourself, did it exist 20 years from now? And I can guarantee you will end up saying no by 80% of all items. So, given this, what will the next 20 years be like? One of my main messages to all the business makers is, get ready for a world full of full throttle changes. Expect these 100 years of technological progress in just 20 years. And I have bad news for you guys working in the internet industry, because I think the internet will disappear. Maybe I have to add the internet as we know it. The internet will disappear, but will become the backbone for literally everything we do. And I cannot stress out that it is really far beyond what we perceive digital today. Because there is almost no everyday item that could not be improved by computation power, by adding intelligence to it. And that's what a lot of people call, or know under the buzzword, Internet of Things. It's the small things that we are dealing with. Adding computers and computational power will make them smarter and will make them more useful for us. So what I think what we will have in the future is a paradigm shift in the way we interact with computers, or what we even understand as computers. So I want to describe this to you on the example of a light bulb. Most light bulbs here, they're thumb. They're just a bulb giving light. If you switch them on, they're on. Switch them off, they're off. What would be if we add a little bit of technology to that, computation power to that, and try to make it smarter, so that bulbs individually realize when they need to go on and off? Imagine they would have all the data from you, from everyone, and they could combine that data and make super quick decisions whether it should be on or off. So today, the way we act with computers is we instruct them. We take our mobile phones, say, let's go to typo3.org, let's go to drupal.com, maybe not, and we tell the computers what they have to do. And I think in the shorter run, we will just correct the computers, because the computers will increasingly become more intelligent and anticipate what you like to do next. That's what you can experience already with, for example, Google Now, or on the latest iPhone update. You get messages like, it takes you 4 minutes to get home, for example. Or it takes you 18 hours to get home because I'm in Helsinki, for example. That technology is not really evolved already, but it is the first step of anticipating what should be done next and what should be occurring. And our task in that period should be to correct the computer, to make him help, to tell him, no, I'm in Helsinki. It's very unlikely that I'm now going by car back home. So the next time you want to show me what's my way back home, please consider that I'm not going to take a 80-hour drive, for example. So this is the second stage. And I think as we move along with computational power and the internet and the data all being available for everyone, in the long run, we will not recognize computers anymore as computers. Let's take the example from the light bulb again. Once these light bulbs are so intelligent that they really work, that they really anticipate what you want to do with them, you will not recognize that there is computing power behind it. It will just work. And remember my son, who does not know about x86 computers, for example. Maybe his son will not know about light bulbs in a conventional way as well. And he will just give it, for him, a light bulb is an intelligent device that just switches off on when there needs to be light and switches off when there should be no light. And that's how we are going to change our perception of technology and our relation to technology. So, coming to the last chapter. What must businesses do from out of that? Master the digital transformation? Of course. That's what I'm saying to all the decision makers and to the business guys out there. Yes, you have to do that. You have to do responsive web. You have to do Internet of Things. You have to do whatever you can imagine. What we are building solutions for our clients in every day. They all have to do that. But this is the starting point. This is where business people, from my opinion, that's where they should start from. And if you still think that digital transformation is the biggest thing that's ever happened, I would like to correct you. I would like to add, so far. It is the biggest thing that happened so far. But there's a lot more to come. So this is just a chart to scare you up. It's not scientifically, it's drawn up or something like that. But what is the orange span is the digital transformation. And we are on the rise of technological growth. And as a result, out of that, there will be a lot more stuff coming in the future, and stuff that can be used by the businesses or that do threat to businesses. That's what I call the age of perpetual disruption. Now it's getting very, very boring. I'm sorry, but I have to show this to you because otherwise you do not really understand. I have developed this model here, which is showing why that an improved or an increasing technological growth is fostering more disruptions in industries and businesses. So at the start, when you see the orange graph here, is the user expectation of to do something, to do a task, like washing clothes, for example. And what is named here cost is the cost in economical terminology. It's just how easy it is or how much money is involved to do that. And if you, for example, if we go with the washing machine, there was a time where all the washing was done manually. It was an incredible process because you need to put up fire and you need to wash that by hand. You need to carry water, all these kind of things. And over the years, technology pitched in, and there was the washing machine, the first one only, where just did some help on the manual process. And every time technology is able to serve these needs, a industry is forming. That's where it's point 2. And what is typical with research and product development is that once you have researched for years to achieve a product, you will lower or stop the investment in research because you want to profit, to benefit from what you have developed as a product. And that's why industries get lazy over time. They have, on the one hand, they have a business that finally generates money, and on the other hand, there is a lower need to do investment in research because business is running. And that's what we see often today. For example, I think the insurance industry in Germany is at risk, tremendously at risk, because they have a business model that still works, but they don't really realize what are the changes. And they do not invest in these changes that are going on out there. In the way we are calculating risk, the way we are dealing with risk, it's totally changing at the moment. And I talked to some of those high-level executives just 2 months ago, they really have no clue. It's frightening. They really have no clue. I would not buy a single product from them because, and that's the next point here, sooner or later, there will be a new technology available because we are constantly researching on new technology. And there will be people that will suddenly be able to provide a product or a service at significantly lower cost in a shorter time to market, and that's when disruption is happening. And that's why all the guys from the dinosaur or old economy are complaining about new people coming in and putting their business at risk, or it's this threat. That's because of this effect. And if you consider that, and you consider there is a lot more improved technology coming, there will be more disruptions. Not once in every 20 years, but once in 18 months, for example. So what I think is essential for companies is to become a lot more agile. And please do not confuse agile with Scrum or project methodologies. I think the agile enterprise, who has heard about the agile enterprise? Who has heard something about holacracy? Whoa, more, cool. Okay, so I think the future enterprise, being able to deal with that change, needs to be an agile enterprise. And what was for years have been a rather static process of developing strategies for businesses, which is very waterfall oriented, must become an iterative way of finding new business model and take the leverage on those new business models. And I've developed this here, which is super simple, and basically explains that you should have 3 teams in your corporation. One that is looking for new technology which is currently developed, not used by clients already, but developed behind closed doors. Thanks to the internet and so much data available, we are can inform ourselves about the latest development in all sorts of fields. And a second team should look at the society. Where is society moving? What is their relation to a certain technology? And the third team should really focus on taking these informations and trying to make a business model. And I've been writing about pop-up business models lately. And the basic concept of this is that you should not go for one new business model, you should go for a various numbers of business models, give them a certain time, and then judge whether this is something you can use in future or you have to end. Beyond all that, and I could talk for hours about that because I think it's really important to tell decision makers out there, and I'm encouraging you somehow because you are working with decision makers as well, is to tell them that there is a change in technological growth, that we see a lot more stuff. I repeated myself so many times, I know, but it's important. And in the end, what they really need to do is they need to do a mind shift that leads to a new corporate culture. A culture that is leveraging on change, that is thinking in opportunities rather than threats, because especially the Germans and the Swiss were very good thinking in threats and risks instead of opportunities and chances. And I think this is not in the very sense of entrepreneurship in the end. I think the sense of entrepreneurship is more like being focused on opportunities, optimistic. These are the kind of things paired with betting your whole company once in a while on a new chance. This is what real entrepreneur is differentiating from just managers. And guys, we see that run our dinosaurs companies today. I think this cultural change, this is what must happen in the future to make our economic really strive in the future years. So, to close this today, as you are, most of you are in the digital industry, I can only encourage you to encourage your clients and to coach your clients in that process of making a real difference, of making a real change. And it's in the very sense of Typo 3, as I perceive it, that you should do that by inspire your people, inspire clients to share. There was a discussion going on this year whether maybe we should change that claim. And I finally made up my mind about that. Not that I would have to decide that, but I really thought about that. And I think it's one of the best claims I have ever heard when it comes to open source and the things we are doing. In that sense, all that I can say now is have a great Typo 3 conference, inspire people to share on all levels, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Alain.